Today's submitted material is a comprehensive English language curriculum designed for Brazilian learners, covering everything from fundamental A2 vocabulary in daily routines to extensive travel phrases and grammar mechanics. Let's jump right in, because the current curriculum structure mixes fundamental A2 vocabulary with advanced idiomatic expressions, which risks overwhelming beginner learners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at the first few modules, the contrast in complexity is, well, it's pretty jarring.
Let's look closely at the section discussing the beginner vocabulary. The material establishes this great A2 baseline by introducing essential, foundational words, things like house, car, and the verb to be.
Right, exactly. But then, right next to that essential survival vocabulary, they drop in a list of 30 highly figurative idioms.
Right, it's wild.
Like getting blood out of a stone or raining cats and dogs.
Yeah, which is just crazy for a learner who is, just grasping basic sentence construction. Attempting to memorize and contextualize complex, non-literal phrases like that creates a jarring learning curve and cognitive overload.
Is there a risk that focusing solely on, providing comprehensive content might overlook the cognitive load on a beginner? I mean, if we strip those idioms out, doesn't the language lose its personality?
I totally get that instinct, but we have to restructure the curriculum strictly by CEFR levels. We need to ensure that advanced idiomatic language is withheld until the learner has fully mastered foundational grammar and vocabulary.
Oh, okay. So we keep the 50 essential words, like the core verbs and pronouns, firmly in the A2 beginner module?
Exactly. And then you relocate that whole list of 30 idioms to a B1 or B2 intermediate module.
Right, that makes sense. Let them build the foundation first.
Exactly. Or, if you really must include idioms early on, limit them to just 2 or 3 highly practical ones, like piece of cake.
Oh yeah, piece of cake is super easy to grasp.
Right. You explicitly tie it to a basic conversational scenario and move on. And honestly, once the content is properly leveled for the right audience, the next challenge is how the appropriate material is actually taught. Which brings us to our second point.
Right.
The grammar sections rely heavily on traditional theoretical explanations, rather than integrating seamlessly with the highly practical situational modules.
Yeah, that was honestly a bit frustrating to read, because the curriculum features these excellent, highly practical survival guides.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Like ordering food at a restaurant, or navigating an airport check-in. But then it treats grammar, like present simple versus present continuous, or modal verbs, as entirely separate, abstract lessons.
Yeah, it really does.
This separation makes the grammar feel like a rigid academic chore, rather than a practical tool for real-world communication.
Exactly. I mean, they summarize the grammar rules perfectly, right? The mechanics for modals, present simple, and present continuous are flawless, without a doubt, and I really noted the strength of that daily routine text they provided.
Building on that point, what if we looked at it from the perspective of a car engine? You don't just study the engine by itself on a metal table, right? You put it in the car and you drive it to the restaurant.
I love that analogy. Yes. The suggestion here is to embed the grammar lessons directly into the situational role-playings and narratives. You have to make the rules feel immediately applicable and less abstract.
So instead of teaching modal verbs in an isolated vacuum, you just integrate them into the restaurant module.
Yes, exactly. You teach could and should when discussing how to politely order food. Substituting the rude, blunt "I want" with, could I get another drink, please?
Oh, that's such a better way to do it. The grammar suddenly has a real-world purpose.
Right? Furthermore, use the rich daily routine narrative provided in the material. The one where the protagonist wakes up at 5 a.m. and hits the snooze button twice.
Yeah, that story was great. It had such natural momentum.
Use that story as the primary vehicle to teach the present simple. It allows students to discover the grammar rules through the story.
Oh, right. Because they can discover the rules organically as they read.
Exactly. The text naturally puts the present simple and present continuous side by side. Like, he says, I wake up at 5, but then my wife is making coffee.
Oh, I see. You invite the learner to solve that puzzle.
Right. You ask them why the verbs look different. It completely removes the intimidation factor because they're just gossiping about a guy's morning routine.
I love that approach.
Yeah. But, even with perfectly integrated grammar, The sheer volume of vocabulary presented in these situational modules really needs to be addressed, which brings us to our third critique.
Okay, let's hear it.
The reliance on massive lists of phrases and vocabulary words creates a steep memorization barrier that could hinder active learner engagement.
Yeah, presenting 160 travel phrases or 81 restaurant terms in massive, unbroken tables is deeply intimidating.
It really is. I mean, the thoroughness is incredible, but the sheer size of those vocabulary lists is huge. I can see what you're going for here. Let's see how we can strengthen this. Because asking a student to learn from these monolithic blocks does not promote active recall, conversational practice, or confidence at all.
That makes sense, but could the evidence also support a different conclusion? Like, the idea that less is actually more when it comes to vocabulary retention?
Oh, absolutely. By giving them massive lists, we are robbing them of the opportunity to practice creative problem solving. So we really need to break these massive lists down into smaller, scenario-based chunks.
Right, to lower the pressure.
Exactly. And we need to introduce active, character-driven storytelling exercises to contextualize the vocabulary, too.
Like breaking the 160 travel phrases into 5-phrase survival kits?
Yes. 5 phrases for the check-in counter or 5 phrases for a turbulent flight. Howly specific moments.
You know, the author actually included a YouTube transcript about modal verbs that does this well, where characters named Romeo and Melissa discuss wearing a blue shirt versus a white shirt for a first day of work.
Right. I remember that one.
That story of Romeo is a prime example of narrative-driven learning that the rest of the curriculum should absolutely emulate. It's so effective.
Totally. So create a similar mini-story for the restaurant section, perhaps involving a customer with severe lactose intolerance navigating a menu.
Oh, I like that, because it adds real stakes to the dialogue.
Exactly. They aren't just reading phrases like, "Is this gluten-free?" off a spreadsheet. They're role-playing a customer who nervously interrogates the waiter about dairy in the cake frosting. It allows learners to practice the vocabulary in a memorable, low-stress role-play.
Right. Suddenly the vocabulary has life. It's interactive.
Exactly. It builds a bridge between passive reading and active speaking.
Absolutely.
Well, to wrap things up, we had 3 main critiques today. First, leveling the content to avoid overwhelming beginners. Second, weaving grammar directly into practical scenarios. And third, chunking massive vocabulary lists into narrative-driven micro-lessons.
We warmly invite you to implement these actionable suggestions, and please submit your revised curriculum back into us for further feedback. We would love to see it.